7 spine-chilling family dollar secrets exposed. Terrifying tales that will haunt you forever. Lisa shifted nervously behind the counter of the Family Dollar, each thud of her heart echoing in the eerie silence as fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Shadows danced around her. Whispers bounced off the walls like echoes of long-lost souls. This wasn't just a store anymore, it was a realm of horror filled with secrets. She felt it in her bones, a primal instinct urging her away from the aisles that held a sinister presence she could almost touch. The walls seemed to close in, pressing against her as she recalled the stories of missing locals, strange disappearances veiled in mystery, whispered about only in hushed tones between anxious glances. With 2 young kids at home and bills piling up like tombstones, she never thought she'd spend her nights in a place rife with fear. It didn't matter that her husband had vanished 6 months ago, leaving her grappling with life alone. Each shift brought new dread that seeped into her mind, a slow crawl of paranoia that threatened to drown her. She felt like a moth drawn to a flame, knowing the risks but unable to resist. The register clinked mockingly, a sound that resonated deep in her chest, intensifying her stress. Still, she pushed through, determined to make ends meet. Suddenly, while pushing back a shelf in search of stray inventory, her fingers brushed against something cold, hard, and covered in dust. Startled, she yanked it out. A notebook, its spine cracked and pages yellowed. Curiosity mingled with dread, urging her to open it. Each entry was more chilling than the last, detailing horrific encounters and inexplicable vanishings related to the store. A chill swept through her as the tremors of each chilling tale sizzled at the edges of her sanity. A dark legend weaves through these halls, one entry read. Beware the shadows. A shiver coursed down her spine as she felt a prickling on the back of her neck, the sensation of being watched enveloping her like a frigid blanket. The weight of the air thickened, suffocating her. Get it together, Lisa, she muttered under her breath. She had kids depending on her, and yet panic twisted inside her stomach like a knife. Was she really putting them in danger by working these late hours? Before she could spiral into full panic, she clutched her phone, immediately dialing her children's number, desperate for the comfort of their small voices. Just as she was about to connect, a flicker of grim movement caught her eye through the store's grimy window. Leaning closer, she squinted into the darkness and gasped. A figure stood outside, too still, too vague, something unplaceable in the shadows. Was that her neighbor? A chill shot through her as their previous, friendly encounters raced through her mind, but now he appeared shrouded in suspicion. What if he wasn't the cautious neighbor he pretended to be? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Panic surged through her as she replayed the entries in the notebook, dark omens of a predator lurking, a shadow bent on destruction. The store felt smaller now, closing in under the weight of dread. What if he was part of something darker? She shook her head, willing herself to think rationally. But as she settled into a panicked resolve, the lights flickered uncertainly again, plunging her into oppressive darkness. And then a soft, chilling whisper echoed through the silent aisles, calling her name in a voice that felt all too familiar. The truth lurked just beneath the surface, and Lisa could feel the whispering shadows closing in, begging her to unearth the horror that lay beneath her feet. What would she discover next? The whisper hung in the air, a ghostly invocation that wrapped around Lisa's mind like vines tightening in the dark. Her breath hitched, frozen in her throat. Instinct clawed at her to run, but curiosity dragged her further into the store's depths. She turned away from the register, her legs trembling as she stepped over the threshold into an aisle bathed in flickering light, the dimness swallowing her whole. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaking. Silence answered, heavy and oppressive, rattling her resolve like a marionette cut from its strings. She strained her ears, knowing the unknown lurked just around the corner, watching, waiting. The notebook still clutched in her hand felt hotter, pulsating like a living thing with every echo of her heartbeat. She hurried to the end of the aisle, drawn to the flickering light that danced ominously ahead. It flickered between the enormous, skeletal display of Halloween costumes, their plastic faces grinning eerily. Could it be a trick of the light? Or something more? Ahead, something glinted, a small object dropped on the floor. It shimmered just enough to catch her eye, and she knelt down to inspect it. A delicate silver locket, intricately engraved with a symbol that seemed familiar, was nestled on the filthy linoleum. Trembling fingers reached for it, brushing against the cool metal. Her stomach turned. It felt wrong, as if it belonged to another time, another soul lost in this cursed place. "What is this?" she murmured, swallowing her fear. Lisa flipped it open, revealing a faded photograph of a young girl, her eyes wide with innocence, yet a shadow hung behind them, a darkness that clawed its way into Lisa's heart. A name echoed in the back of her mind, one she had read in the notebook. The girl had vanished years ago, the same age as her own children. What if this locket held more than just memories? What if it was a key to understanding what had happened in the store? From the corner of her eye, she caught movement once more. The figure outside was closer, just beyond the cracked glass of the window. It flinched as the light illuminated its form, revealing not her neighbor, but a ghastly silhouette, eyes black and void. Terror seized her, her heart pounding like a drum. It wasn't he just watching, it was waiting. "Get away from the window!" A voice shouted from inside her head, echoing frantically. Lisa's body surged forward, adrenaline driving her to hide behind a shelf as her mind spun in triangles of fear. The locket slipped from her fingers, tumbling onto the floor and landing just feet away. Breathless, she pressed herself against the shelf as the figure approached the entrance, its form coiling in the absence of light. "Lisa," the figure croaked, its voice the warm echo of her own. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but her body remained frozen, perched on the brink of escape. The shadows pressed closer, the store warping around her. In an instant, a loud crash rang out as the figure collided with the door, sending it splintering open. An icy gust swept through the aisles, drowning out her thoughts, leaving only a chilling reminder of her choices. She could not just run. What lay behind her? As the figure stepped in, Lisa's heart raced, and she knew she had no choice. She had to confront whatever darkness was haunting her family. The shadows loomed larger, and she could feel an electric pull towards the cauldron of hidden terrors within. With a shaky breath, Lisa turned her head, finally ready to face the haunted presence, a truth buried beneath the darkness. What lay before her? Would she find the answers she was searching for, or would she vanish just like so many before her? The figure stood in the doorway, its form more tangible now, as if the shadows had molded it into existence. Lisa's breath quickened, clouding the air in front of her. It took a step inside, and the floor creaked under its weight. She wanted to scream, to break the suffocating silence, but words failed her. "Lisa," it croaked again, a sound that reverberated through her bones, a grotesque mimicry of her own voice. She fought the urge to shout out, to demand it leave, her mind racing with frantic thoughts. What was it? What did it want? The locket lay untouched on the floor, glinting like a beacon of hope amidst the gathering darkness. The girl in the photo flashed into her mind, and something twisted painfully within her. Could this figure be somehow connected? Perhaps it was the last remnant of that child's lost innocence, a fractured reflection of a time before tragedy struck. "Who are you?" she managed to spit out, her heart thumping hard enough to rattle her insides. The figure seemed to hesitate, its dark outline wobbling and shifting as though struggling to maintain cohesion. "Why did you come here?" it asked, the voice dripping with equal parts malice and curiosity. I need to know what happened," Lisa shouted suddenly, her fear fueling an unexpected surge of bravery. A jagged laughter sliced through the air, echoing off the walls. "You're too late," it hissed, inching closer, its features grotesque, a mask of despair and rage that twisted and stretched. "You'll join the others." Lisa's back slammed against the shelf as she fought the urge to flee. She was rooted to the spot, the whispers from the locket ringing in her head a chilling chorus of warning. She couldn't let fear triumph this time. In a burst of instinct, she snatched the locket from the floor, cradling it as if it were a live wire. The shadows around her flared, pressing in with a coldness that seeped through her skin. She squeezed the locket tightly, its warmth surprisingly grounding. "Show me," she demanded, staring defiantly into the featureless void of the figure's eyes. "Show me how to help her." For a moment, the hulking presence stopped, a flicker of uncertainty sparking in the depths of those abyssal eyes. Then, the air thickened, swirling with almost audible whispers. Past memories folded over themselves, revealing a tapestry woven with loss and sorrow. Suddenly, the scene around her changed. It was no longer the store, but a dimly lit room. She saw the girl, the same child from the locket, playing in a corner. Shadows clung to her, curling around her limbs like old friends. Each giggle echoed with a hint of unease. Then, with a sudden snap, the scene shifted again. The girl was crying now, frantically searching for something. Lisa's heart raced. Was she searching for the locket? She reached out, as if she could bridge the distance through the veil of memory. But the moment shattered. The figure lunged toward her, claws scraping against the floor. "You will not escape like she did!" it roared, an explosion of rage reverberating through the aisles. Lisa stumbled back, clutching the locket as she swung it in front of her, as if it were a weapon. The flickering lights above her sputtered wildly, illuminating the store momentarily with maddening brightness. "Get away!" she screamed, her voice imbued with desperation and primal fear. The figure paused, its silhouette wavering as if caught in a sudden gale. In that pause, she recognized something: an opportunity. With one last glance at the shrieking figure, she turned and bolted toward the back of the store, her heart racing. As she ran, the whispers grew louder, pulling at her consciousness. Memories, voices, and shadows mixed and swirled, chasing her down the aisles. Would she find a way out, or would she be the next to join with the lost ones, trapped forever in the clutches of this nightmare? The echo of her own breath filled her ears as she charged toward the darkness at the back, praying that it held the answers she desperately sought. But some doors, once opened, could never be closed again. The back of the store loomed ahead, shrouded in shadow, a place where light seemed to die. Lisa's pulse raced as she pushed through the darkness, glancing over her shoulder to see if the figure was following. The aisles behind her bore the echoes of her frantic steps, but the haunting silence that fell in its wake told her something was wrong. Too quiet, too still. She reached the end of the last aisle, where a door stood slightly ajar, its rusted handle promising escape. Her heart thudded as she flung it wide open. A stale, musty air rushed to meet her, but she barely registered it. Her focus was solely on a narrow staircase spiraling downward into the unknown. A chill crept up her spine. With no other choice, she stepped inside. The tightness of the stairwell pressed in on her. Each creak beneath her feet echoed like a chorus of warnings. She could almost hear the figure's laughter trailing behind her, malevolent and mocking. "You can't run forever!" it taunted in her mind, a twisted refrain that made her stomach churn. Lisa descended step after step, her hands braced against the damp wood to maintain her balance. The walls felt slick, as if they had absorbed the anguish of the past, the voices of those who had come before her, lost and never seen again. The air grew colder, stinging her cheeks and threatening to turn the fear in her heart into full-blown panic. The staircase opened into an underground room, dimly lit by flickering bulbs that buzzed like restless spirits. The mustiness deepened here, surrounding her like a thick fog. Old shelves lined the walls, scattered with forgotten trinkets and dust-laden boxes. In the center of the room stood a small table, and atop it, a single, ornate chest carved with swirling patterns. Dancing shadows seemed to seep from it, uninvited. Lisa hesitated, each breath falling heavy on the silence. This was the moment. Whatever lay within the chest might hold the key to her escape, or it could seal her fate. She stepped forward, wiping clammy hands on her jeans, and grasped the edges of the chest. The moment her fingers touched the wood, the whispers crescendoed into a howl. A jagged wave of memory crashed over her. Visions of the girl, of laughter faded into screams, of invitations turned into entrapments. "No!" she gasped, backing up as the chest creaked open with a sound like thunder, darkness spilling forth, swirling around her feet like eager serpents. She stumbled back, her heart racing, but it was too late. Tendrils of shadow reached out, curling around her ankles, halting her escape. "What do you want?" she cried, struggling against the encroaching gloom. In her mind, the locket felt ablaze, pulsing with an energy she couldn't fathom, a lifeline she may never fully grasp. The shadows writhed, caught in the throes of a battle unseen. Among the chaos, a faint voice emerged, a plea that froze Lisa in terror. "Help us!" it sobbed, echoing through the dim room, a chorus of pain filtering in through the darkness. "Help us before it's too late!" Lisa's eyes darted around, searching for the source. Who exactly was pleading with her? Was it the girl? Or perhaps another soul forever trapped? Just then, the temperature in the room plummeted. The light flickered, and the whispers intensified, coiling around her like barbed wire. Tears sprang to her eyes. She couldn't decipher where the anguish ended and her own began. As the shadows squeezed tighter, she realized she had to choose: confront this nightmare, or be consumed by it. With a surge of determination, Lisa gripped the locket tightly and shouted into the void, "I will not let you take me." In that instant, an echo reverberated through the room, a pulse of energy that seemed to answer her call. Dark laughter morphed into a cacophony of screams. But the shadows began to recede, pulling back, almost fashioning an escape route that flickered with promise. Lisa squinted into the floating darkness, anticipation merging with fear. Would she uncover the truth and save the lost souls? Or would she become another shadow in this twisted tale? The silent answer loomed in the air, waiting to be revealed. The shadows pulled back just enough for Lisa to catch her breath. She teetered on the edge of despair, the chest still yawning open like a gaping maw. Inside, the darkness roiled and twisted, as if it were a living thing, waiting for her next move. "Help us!" the voice whispered again, clearer now, a chilling echo woven with desperation. It pierced her resolve, each syllable stabbing into her heart. Who were these souls? How long had they wandered this cursed place? Lisa's mind raced. She took a step closer, adrenaline surging through her veins. The chest loomed with oppressive weight, yet a sliver of courage crept into her heart. She couldn't turn away. "Who are you?" she shouted into the yawning abyss, her voice shaking. "What do you want from me?" There was no answer at first, just the electric buzz of fading lights and the cold wrap of the air around her. Then, the whisper morphed again, becoming a cacophony of lost pleas, like 1,000 desperate voices melding into one. "Find the key with the blood before it takes you," the phrases strung together in a rhythm that resonated deep within her. Blood? What blood? Her own? The locket felt hot against her chest, pulsing with a fierce intensity, as though it fed off the terror. It called to her, a lifeline in the storm of confusion. Lisa glanced around the room, searching for anything, any clue that would help her understand. Old shelves loomed in the dim light, their surfaces lined with dust-coated objects buried under time's embrace. She moved to one and began rifling through the trinkets, a rusted key here, a cracked mirror there, but nothing felt connected to her plight. Then her fingers brushed against something cold, slick, and unmistakably wrong. She pulled a small, dusty box much like the chest out from the shadows. Hefting it in her hands, she noticed a delicate, carved pattern on its lid. Just like the chest but smaller. "What's inside you?" she mumbled, her heart pounding louder. Hesitantly, she opened it. Inside lay a horrid sight, several small vials filled with glistening red liquid. The air shifted, heavy with an eerie presence, thumping louder in her ears. She swallowed hard. "Is this blood?" The thought made her stomach churn. The voices grew frantic, the shadows wriggled closer, swirling around Lisa's feet, coaxing her. "Use it! Help us!" "Help how?" she cried, feeling the weight of time closing in around her, shadows flooding the edges of her vision. The suffocating darkness tried pulling her back, reminding her of the lurking entity that came ever closer, waiting for a moment of weakness. Summoning every ounce of courage, she yelled into the void, "I don't even know what you want from me." A shrill laugh rang out, slicing through her clarity. "Ah, you've only scratched the surface, Lisa. The truth is waiting, but it demands a sacrifice." Sacrifice? The word hung in the air, sickly sweet, creating a bitter knot in her throat. Suddenly, the chest slammed shut, vibrating with dark energy as if angry at her defiance. The room trembled, the shadows lunged, almost reaching her, their whispers now a thunderous roar. Terror gripped her. No! She darted towards the stairs, back to the last remnants of hope above, but tripping over her own feet, she tumbled, the vial box skittering away across the floor. Her hands flailed, desperately seeking salvation, but the darkness surged, pulling at her. Every ounce of desperation surged as she clutched the locket. "I will find the truth. I will. The shadows retreated, but now they writhed with an angry energy, as if sensing an impending conflict. The air crackled, tingling fingers of dread snaking around her. In that ephemeral moment, Lisa understood, the shadows reflected her own fears. The doubt, the loss that came from within her. As she staggered to her feet, she felt the locket vibrate, and suddenly it all clicked. She had to confront the past. The blood wasn't just about sacrifice, it was about the bond. The link that tied her to the souls trapped in this hell. But how? A choice loomed ahead, a choice fueled by fear and dread. Would she take that last step into darkness or shatter the chains of despair that bound the wretched souls? As the walls felt like they were closing in again, she caught sight of a flickering light reflecting from the other side of the chest, almost beckoning her closer. What would she discover when she reached for it? And what would it cost her? The flickering light danced like a candle flame, mesmerizing and haunting. Lisa's heart raced as she stretched her hand toward it, the locket's warmth pulsing fiercely against her chest. She hesitated, an icy grip tightening around her throat. The shadows shifted, flickering like broken promises, filling the air with an almost tangible desperation. "Find the key," the voices echoed again, this time rising to a fever pitch. "Before it takes you." What did they mean? In this swirling chaos, her instincts screamed for her to flee. But something deeper rooted her in place, a need to understand. She should have turned away, should have bolted for the stairs, but her hand moved of its own accord, trembling, until it brushed against the cold wooden edge of the chest. As her fingers traced the surface, the earth around her seemed to quiet, holding its breath. The light stopped flickering, revealing a glimmering brass keyhole beneath an ancient lock. It gleamed with a malicious intent, taunting her. Suddenly, the whispering grew softer, as if the shadows were willing her to commit fully to whatever lay within. "Use the blood." The words curled around her, sleek and seductive, pulling at her senses. She stumbled backward, the urgency of the moment crashing into her. Blood? That word hammered in her chest like a drum. The vials. She fought to quell her rising dread, racing back to the box she'd dropped. The vials glimmered, the crimson liquid inside dancing with life, or death. "Do it!" The voices were maddening now, shrill and insistent, as though they had been waiting for her all along. She hesitated, mind racing. What did they want her to do? Then a narrow spark of resolution ignited within her. She grabbed a vial, holding it up to the sparse light. "Help me or I'm done!" she shouted, feeling utterly out of control. But the shadows recoiled, as if her words had struck them. A cold fear clutched at her stomach. If the souls had any power left, she might just be their only hope. With a deep breath, Lisa unscrewed the cap and poured some of the blood onto the keyhole. The crimson liquid sizzled against the wood, swirling and sinking into the cracks. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a powerful jolt, the chest sprang open, flooding the room with a blinding light. Lisa shielded her eyes, heart galloping as a series of ghostly images surged forth, pale and shimmering. They moved like smoke, trapped beings desperately reaching for her, their faces twisted in agony. "Free us! Break the curse!" They cried in unison, their voices overlapping into a haunting melody. A new dread settled in. She wasn't just unleashing them, she was drawn into their memories. Fleeting images surged in her mind. Behind her eyelids she saw their lives, pupils filled with fear, hands placed on cold, unforgiving ground, begging for help that never came. These shadows were trapped, but so was she. She swayed, feeling the weight of their despair pressing down on her, a crushing burden that made it hard to breathe. The corners of the room twisted like a funhouse mirror as she tried to focus. "No!" she gasped, fighting against the wave of darkness that swirled around her. But the more she struggled, the more alive the shadows became. They reached out with icy fingers, clawing at her skin. "Your past, Lisa. Face it!" A voice bellowed from the depths, unmistakably hers yet warped. "You think you can escape?" With a scream, memories erupted, faces of friends lost, bruised hands reaching out, and her own failures replaying like a broken record. Panic surged, and her own voice drowned out every other sound. "Stop! I can't take this!" she shouted. The chest slammed shut again, and Lisa fell back, gasping for breath. The room plunged into silence. All that remained were the vials now scattered across the floor, a trail of crimson unfurling like a broken ribbon. But her pulse still raced. The whispers mocked her, "You cannot escape the truth. It is coming for you." As her eyes darted back to the now closed chest, a sense of cold resolve formed. She had to choose: accept the haunting past, or confront whatever dark being awaited her. And in that moment, a metallic clang echoed from the staircase, followed by a deep, menacing growl. Something was emerging, and it was hungry. "Get up, Lisa!" her mind screamed, desperate for clarity. But the room darkened again, shadows pooling like liquid around her feet. Would she escape before it devoured her whole? Would she finally learn the truth that lay within? Time slipped away, and the pulse of evil quickened. The answer echoed within, deep and reverberating. Your choice. The darkness squeezed tighter around Lisa, suffocating and thick like a woolen blanket hanging over her head. Every instinct told her to run, but her legs felt like concrete. The growl simmered, deep and rumbling, making the chill crawl up her spine. She fumbled around herself, trying to find something, anything that could be used as a weapon against the malevolence that lingered in the shadows. Just as she steadied herself, the source of the growl came into view. It emerged slowly from the darkness, a figure taller than any man she had ever seen. Its elongated limbs moved with an unnatural grace, every joint cracking in protest as it approached. The face was obscured in shadow, yet she could feel its gaze piercing through her, tearing at her resolve. "Lisa," it said, its voice slithering over her skin like cold, wet slime. "You've set them free, but at what cost?" She felt her heartbeat quicken. "Who are you?" The question hung in the air like smoke, a futile gesture against the encroaching horror. "The Keeper of Secrets," it replied, a grin spreading across its distorted features. "You think you can unravel the past without facing the darkness within? You are not the first." The shadows around her twisted, forming shapes of those who had come before, each one revealing a brief moment of agony, a snapshot of despair and regret. She recognized some, fragments of her own memories sewn into the fabric of their screams. "No!" she shouted, shaking her head fiercely, trying to drown them out. "I didn't want this." "Yet here you are," the Keeper said, that smile widening impossibly. "You wanted the truth. You wished for answers. Now the truth wants you." It lunged forward, and in that instant the shadows surged past her like a wild wind. She stumbled back, colliding with the wall, a sharp pain radiating through her shoulders. The Keeper's arms swept out, sending the scattered vials flying across the room, their contents spilling like lifeblood on the floor. The crimson liquid pooled, and the shadows seemed to drink it up, swelling and flickering with renewed power. "Your blood, Lisa," it taunted, the growl deepening. "That's what they crave. That's what I crave. Will you feed us?" The room began to spin, and Lisa pressed her palms against her temples, fighting the wave of anguish that clawed at her mind. The echoes of the tormented souls enveloped her, louder than ever, each cry a shard of remorse drilling deeper into her consciousness. "Break the cycle! Confront it!" they cried. "Free us from this torment!" She squeezed her eyes shut, inundated with the weight of their suffering. Suddenly, A thought pierced through the pain, the locket. With trembling hands, she seized it from around her neck, feeling the heat pulsing like a heartbeat. Maybe this is the key, she whispered to herself, her breath hitching in her throat. The keeper paused, and a flicker of curiosity sparked deep in its hollow eyes. Ah, you think you can escape by playing with trinkets? It won't save you. Watch me. She hurled the locket at the keeper, desperation fueling her every action. It collided against its chest and shattered, shards of lustrous metal flying through the air. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Then, the room exploded with raw energy. A blinding light burst forth, engulfing the keeper and the shadows in a dizzying chaos. Lisa shielded her eyes, wrestling against the onslaught of spectral cries that erupted around her. No! 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 The keeper's voice slashed through the noise. You cannot end this. But Lisa felt an overwhelming presence rising within her, an ancient power she never knew existed. Enough! She screamed. I choose my fate. The room shook violently, walls trembling as the shadows swirled desperately, clawing to stay anchored to the remnants of their existence. Lisa stood firm, her heart racing, each pulse echoing the remnants of freedom she sought. And then, just like that, the light flickered, and she was left alone once more, breathless, but feeling slightly empowered. A soft rustle echoed from the shadows. Something was still lingering, and it was not finished with her yet. Her gaze flicked upward, but before she could move, the growling returned, louder, angrier, and now more frantic than before. What have you done? It roared, crashing through the darkness. Lisa braced herself. Whatever it takes to break this curse. But just as she began to understand the depth of her resolve, a horrifying laugh echoed through the confines of her prison. You have no idea what you've unleashed. A thundering crash reverberated from the staircase, echoing in her skull. The shadows shifted once more aggressive and insatiable than before. What had she awakened? What other secrets lay buried beneath the weight of desperation? And would it now come for her? The choice rested not only on her shoulders but on the threshold of something she was unprepared to face. And in that moment she realized, the worst was yet to come. The shadows writhed like snakes at her feet, weaving through the air as they sought to reclaim their hold. The room pulsed with a malignant energy that stung Lisa's skin. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but the weight of the darkness anchored her in place. She could dimly hear the keeper's laughter echoing around her like a cruel song, a chilling melody that danced at the edge of her sanity. What do you want from me? She shouted, her voice cracking against the din of madness surrounding her. The cryptic voice of the keeper slithered through the chaos, wrapping around her thoughts like a noose. I want you to embrace it, Lisa. Embrace the horror you've unleashed. You are the catalyst. You are the key. It lunged again, this time closer, and she could smell something rancid in the air. The shadows slipped past her, whispering dark promises, infectious with despair. She could see their faces twisted, agonized, eyes wide with eternal regret. Each one turned to her in silent accusation, condemning her for what had transpired. No! She cried, squeezing her eyes shut once more, trying to block them out. But despite her best efforts, the wailing grew louder, more insistent. I didn't mean to. But you did! It hissed, and she could feel its breath like ice against her skin. You wanted this. You sought the truth, and you fed the dark. What did you think would happen? Rage bubbled up within her, propelling her to confront this monstrosity head-on. I wanted answers. Not this. The keeper let out a sound that was both a growl and a cackle, the floor shaking beneath her. Answers come with a price, dear Lisa. You've set them free at the cost of your own soul. They won't let you go now. As if in response, the shadows coalesced into a swirling mass that reached for her, tendrils of darkness snaking around her wrists and ankles. They whispered her name, urging her to join them, to give in to despair, to become one with the agony they had suffered. No! She screamed, the word ripping from her throat with a force that rattled her bones. With a surge of defiance, she focused on the shards of the shattered locket scattered about her like tiny stars. Your powers can't be contained in this trinket. the keeper shrieked, the laughter replaced with frustration. You let it embolden you. It has no true strength. The shards glimmered, pulsating with an otherworldly glow. Lisa could almost sense their warmth returning to her, the energy coaxing a burgeoning power in her veins. Was it possible? Could she wield something greater to face this monstrosity? She concentrated, thinking about the trapped souls, the anguish that had drawn her here. I won't let you take me! She screamed, reaching out her hand to the shards. The room erupted in light as they flew together, forming a brilliant orb, its radiant energy pushing back against the enveloping shadows. No! The keeper roared, recoiling from the blinding warmth. You dare challenge me? I dare challenge the cycle! Lisa shouted, her voice rising above the tumult. With newfound strength, she hurled the orb towards the dark mass, and it collided with explosive force. The shadows writhed and convulsed, and Lisa felt a hard wave of energy wash over her, shaking her to the core. The screams morphed into howls as the keeper staggered backward, losing its grip on the tension that had filled the room. But just as victory felt within reach for a single heartbeat, the keeper's form flickered and surged back, its eyes burning bright with fury. You think this is over? It spat, voice laced with venom. You've only ignited the fury of those you unleashed, and now they are hungry. More hungry than ever. A deafening roar rattled the very walls, and the shadows clamored towards her, a dark tide that surged as one, and Lisa realized it was more terrifying than she had ever imagined. Run! She thought, but her legs felt anchored to the floor once again, paralyzed by fear. In an instant, the vision of her home flashed through her mind, the light within, the warmth of safety. Was it still there? She knew what she had to do. She had to break free, but not only for herself. For all the souls trapped within that darkness. But as she readied herself for battle, the realization struck her like a cold knife. Escape might lead her to a worse fate, a torment she could never anticipate. The shadows lunged again, this time with a hunger that threatened to consume everything in sight. Would she succumb to the chaos, or would she reclaim her power and confront the truth behind the keeper once and for all? The hunt was just beginning. The shadows surged like a tsunami, crashing towards her with an insatiable hunger. Lisa's heart raced, pounding in her chest, a frantic drum urging her to act. Instinct kicked in, the primal impulse to survive eclipsing everything else. Yet the darkness whispered sweet promises that curled around her mind, urging her to surrender. Just give in, Lisa. It was the keeper again, oozing into her thoughts like poison. You're tired of fighting. You can't win this battle. But Lisa felt a flicker of warmth. The shards. The light from the shattered locket pulsed like a heartbeat. She took a step back, eyes darting, trying to gather her thoughts. No! She shouted, stifling the doubt that tried to creep in. I can fight. I can protect them. Just as the foremost shadow lunged towards her, she felt the shards vibrating with energy. She concentrated on that energy, pushing it past her fear, past the suffocating hold of the keeper. The light exploded from her very core, illuminating the room in a brilliant glow, forcing back the rushing shadow tide. Enough! She bellowed, and released the orb with everything she had. The locket shards streaked through the air like shooting stars, colliding with the mass of darkness, creating shockwaves that forced the shadows to recoil. Lisa felt the intensity of every trapped soul, their sorrow and despair blending into a single horrific cacophony of regret. She could see their faces again, peers from the past, souls eternally lost within this cursed space. Release them! She screamed, but the keeper's laughter rang out, bone-chilling and maddening. They are mine now, just as you will be if you continue. The orb burst into a dazzling eruption of light. It was a violent clash, not just of magic but of wills, and in that moment she could feel her resolve wavering for the briefest moment. The shadows writhed and twisted, but Lisa felt an unfamiliar burn of courage. Somehow, that light didn't just repel the darkness, it burned with a truth that blazed hotter than any fear. Is this the best you can do? She challenged the keeper, letting adrenaline fuel her courage. I am not afraid of you. With each passing second, the shadows waned, revealing a path carved by the light. Lisa took a tentative step forward, a shiver of hope flickering through her. But the Keeper's fury ignited once more. The shadows converged, coiling tightly like serpents, contorting around her limbs again. "Foolish girl!" the Keeper howled. "You've only angered them more." The air thickened with dread as a cacophony of wails rose again, a symphony of anger and suffering hungry for vengeance. Lisa staggered, feeling the weight of lost souls pressing against her. She pushed back, forcing her will against their spectral chains. "Help me!" she cried, looking into the void. "If you can hear me, fight! There are still chances to escape." As if in answer, the shadows faltered, hesitating ever so slightly. She felt a surge, the collective strength of those who had suffered washing through her. Could she harness it? Could the shards pull them back together, not just for herself but for those forgotten? But just then, a tendril of darkness shot forth, piercing through her orb of light. The scream that left Lisa's lips wasn't just hers. It echoed with an entire lifetime of regrets, failures, and fear. The Keeper was regaining control. "No!" she shouted, scrambling to maintain her grip on the light, her chest tightening. The air crackled with tension, each pulse of energy feeling like a heartbeat that could end in disaster. Doubt began to seep through. Would the souls even want her help? Had she angered them too? Were they still so lost that they sought only revenge against the world that had forgotten them? All around her, the darkness grew more imposing, a looming shadow rising to swallow the last remnants of light. She took a deep breath, letting her instincts guide her. Above all else, she must persuade them to see a flicker of hope remained, a chance to sever the chains binding them all. But that came at an unimaginable cost. Would she be prepared to pay it? The shadows writhed, the room growing dimmer as they surged forward to reclaim what they had lost. Lisa stood on the precipice of despair, heart racing, mind whirling. Would she have the strength to break the cycle, or had she just sealed her fate? The storm of darkness pressed in, and she felt the Keeper's breath on her skin once more. "You will never escape this. They'll take you, too. You're already lost." "Maybe," she whispered, clenching her fists. "But I will take you down with me." As she braced for the coming onslaught, Lisa felt the first real spark of defiance blooming within her. The light would fade, but the battle for the trapped souls and her own essence was far from over. Time was running out, and the shadows converged again. What fate awaited her in this abyss? Would she rise, or would she perish alongside the darkness she had unleashed? The next moment would decide everything. The shadows lunged with a ferocity that sent a chill crashing through Lisa's body. Heart pounding, she felt the abyss of darkness close around her. She steeled her resolve, thinking of her children's faces lit with joy, and that flickering warmth imbued her with a fierceness she never knew she possessed. "No!" she shouted, driving her fists into the oppressive air. "You won't take me. I'm stronger than you think." In that moment, the shards of the broken locket pulsed again, illuminating the room with a heartbeat-like rhythm. They glimmered and sparked, releasing a cascade of light aimed at the swirling mass of despair threatening to consume her. The Keeper snarled, its form flickering with rage. "You think you can command their power? You are nothing but a vessel for the dead." A wave of doubt threatened to pull her under, memories of her husband flashing through her mind alongside thoughts of her children. Momentarily lost in that sorrow, shadows swarmed closer, taunting her with their anguished cries. Help us enough!" Lisa screamed, grasping the shards of the locket tighter. "I will fight for you. I won't back down. Not now, not ever." As she shouted, the shards twisted and danced, forming a swirling vortex of light that shattered the dark. The screams of the lost souls merged into one powerful cry of hope, almost overriding the Keeper's chilling laughter. "You're playing with forces beyond your control," it hissed, but Lisa felt that deep spark inside her, an undeniable truth, a beacon. She had faced fear, loss, and darkness. She wasn't done yet. With a primal scream, she unleashed a blinding beam of light. The wall of shadows crashed against it, pushing back with equal force. The air crackled like a live wire, filling the room with blinding brilliance that burst forth, illuminating everything. "Now!" The voices of the tormented souls cried out within her, united and fierce. As the blistering light enveloped her, the room trembled violently, shaking free the restraints of fear. The keeper staggered back, its visage distorting amid the holy radiance. Shadows reeled away, shrieking in anguish as the light consumed them, tearing through the darkness that held them captive. "No!" the keeper screeched, but the scream was swallowed by the brightness that blossomed around Lisa. And then she saw her, the little girl from the photo in the locket, her innocent smile alive and shimmering with the ethereal light. "Take my hand," the girl urged, stretching her fingers out toward Lisa. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The darkness wasn't something that could be defeated. It was something that needed to be understood, accepted, and then released. Lisa reached out, clasping the girl's small hand, and with it, the warmth from the souls surged through her, filling the room with a fierce convulsion of energy. The keeper howled in fury, spiraling back as the combined force of Lisa and the lost souls began to draw it in. "No! You cannot," but they could. They wouldn't be trapped any longer. With one sweeping motion, Lisa thrust her light forward, a powerful wave that opened a portal. The keeper screamed, its form unraveling in the fire of brilliance as shadows fled the room, consumed by light. "I am free," the souls whispered, merging with the light, drifting into the beyond wherever peace awaited them. With one final flash, the keeper screamed, a defiant roar drowned out by the brilliant illumination. It vanished, swallowed by the light, and suddenly, the store was silent. For a moment, Lisa stood in the aftermath, her heart racing, the heavy silence settling in around her. Shadows no longer danced under flickering lights, and the oppressive air felt lighter. "Mommy?" A soft voice broke the stillness, and Lisa spun around. Her children stood at the entrance of the store, wide-eyed and safe. Relief slammed into her like a tidal wave, and she rushed into their embrace. "You're here! You're really here! Are you okay?" her daughter asked, worry etched on her young face. "I am now," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. "I really am." In those moments, she understood that though the scars would remain, the darkness had been confronted, and she had reclaimed her strength. The store was just a place again. No more echoes of lost souls, no more shadows. Just colors, possibilities, and hope. "We're going home," she said, pulling her children close. Together, they stepped outside into the bright, warm sunlight that felt like a new beginning. No more shadows, just the promise of life, love, and every moment ahead. As she walked toward the car, the weight that had burdened her for so long vanished. Turning back just once at the store, she could almost hear the faint echoes of gratitude from those freed. Now it was time. And if she could face the darkness that had haunted her, she could embrace any challenge that lay ahead. This was her moment to shine. Emboldened by her journey, it was time to share her story, to speak of hope, and to inspire others never to back down from confronting their truths. You need to subscribe now. You've dived with us into the darkness, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep the momentum going. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this jaw-dropping conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear these stories of hope and resilience. Support the channel, your voice matters.